They said they loved us equally, but on my graduation day I found the proof they'd been lying for years. While I worked 2 jobs just to afford tuition, they secretly paid for my sister's entire college. And when I exposed them, right there at the celebration, their faces went pale. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. They always said, "You'll understand when you're older." But now, standing in my graduation gown, staring at their pale, guilty faces, I understood everything. And it didn't take age or wisdom. It took years of quiet sacrifice, invisible wounds, and a moment of realization so sharp it cut through every lie they'd ever told me. Growing up, my sister Emma was the sun. Bright, loud, always the center of attention. She got straight A's, made the cheerleading squad, and posed perfectly for every family photo. My parents glowed with pride at every one of her achievements. Her name was always on their lips, their social media feeds, and their Christmas cards. She was the daughter they bragged about. I was different. I was the one who read books under the dinner table. The one who didn't like sleepovers or pep rallies. I got good grades, too great, actually, but no one ever asked to see my report card. I was quieter, more curious about things that didn't look as good on paper. I didn't fight them. I didn't rebel. I just wasn't what they pictured. And slowly, I faded into the background of my own family. Still, I loved them. I tried not to take it personally. I told myself parents were human too. Maybe they just connected with Emma more. Maybe I'd find my moment later. Then came college. When Emma got into an expensive private university in another state, there was a celebration, a cake, balloons, Facebook announcements. My parents paid every cent of her tuition. No hesitation. She deserves it, they said. This is what we've been saving for. I clapped. I smiled. I helped her pack. I thought maybe this is just what parents do. Maybe they want to give their children the best start. So when I got accepted into a respected state university, public, and far more affordably, didn't expect a party, but I did expect some support. Instead, they sat me down at the kitchen table. Not with balloons, but with furrowed brows and clasped hands. "We're proud of you, sweetheart," my dad said. But, things are tight right now. Emma's tuition took a lot out of us. My mom added softly, "Maybe you can take out loans. Or look for a job on campus. You're so independent, we know you can handle it." They said it like a compliment. Like it was noble of them to let me fend for myself. That night, I locked myself in my room and cried until my pillow was soaked. It wasn't about the money. It was about what that moment revealed, that they didn't see me the same way. That they didn't believe in me the way they did Emma. That my dreams weren't worth investing in. But I didn't argue. I didn't throw a tantrum or beg. I swallowed it like I'd swallowed everything else. I got a part-time job before classes even started. Then another one. I applied for every scholarship I could find, even the obscure ones meant for left-handed vegetarians or descendants of Civil War veterans. I worked late, studied later, and sacrificed sleep, social life, and sanity just to keep going. I watched Emma come home on breaks with new clothes. Stories of trips, concerts, sorority, events funded quietly by the same people who once told me they had nothing left to give. I overheard my mom one night on the phone, laughing with a family friend. "Emma's under so much pressure. We're doing what we can to support her. Our younger one. She's tough. She doesn't need us like that." That one sentence stayed with me longer than I'd like to admit. She doesn't need us like that. I did. I just never showed it, so I kept going. For years of vending machine dinners and used textbooks, of tears wiped away in library bathrooms, of working while sick, studying while exhausted, and pretending I was okay when I wasn single quotes T. And now, here I was. Graduation day. My gown felt heavier than it should. Maybe because it carried the weight of every lonely night, every ignored birthday, every phone call they never made to ask, "How are you really doing?" They arrived just before the ceremony started, rushed, as if it were an afterthought. No flowers, no handmade signs. Just Emma in designer sunglasses, already bored. They clapped politely when my name was called. But when I stepped onto the stage again, this time to receive an unexpected award for outstanding perseverance and academic excellence, their clapping stopped. I looked out into the crowd and saw it. Shock, confusion, guilt. For the first time, they saw me. Afterward, at the small reception, they approached me. "You never told us you were getting an award," my dad said. "I didn't know," I replied simply, "but I earned it." There was a pause. My mom opened her mouth, then closed it. Emma looked uncomfortable. I didn't need to explain. They already knew, and when I hugged my friends goodbye, took my diploma in hand, and walked away, didn't feel bitter. I felt free from needing their validation, free from waiting for equal treatment, free to write the next chapter without looking over my shoulder. They always said, "You'll understand when you're older." I finally do, and I'm stronger for it. It wasn't about money, it was about priority. People always assume that financial issues tear families apart, but it's not always the money itself. Sometimes it's the message behind how that money is spent, who gets chosen, who gets trusted, who gets seen. That's what breaks you. I worked part-time jobs from the moment I got my acceptance letter. One at the campus bookstore, another as a teaching assistant by my second year. I barely had time to breathe, but I kept going. I clipped coupons, shared textbooks, and downloaded free PDF versions of assigned readings just to save a few dollars. I skipped meals when it got tight, telling myself I wasn't that hungry. Instant noodles and dollar menu sandwiches became my diet. Meanwhile, Emma called home from her dorm every other week, asking for just a bit more for this or that club fees. A spring break trip, or sometimes just fun money, and every time, without fail, my parents sent it. No hesitation, no questioning, just of course. Honey, I told myself I didn't mind. I reminded myself I had chosen this path. But deep down, I knew it wasn't really a choice. It was what I had to do to survive. And every time I transferred my minimum wage earnings into tuition payments, I felt the sting of their silence. It all hit me hardest one night during my second year. I had come home from a double shift, my feet aching, my shoulders sore. I still had a paper to write and 2 chapters to read. I dropped my bag, heated up a bowl of rice, and sat on the couch, too tired to cry. That's when I heard my mom's voice coming from the hallway. I hadn't realized her phone call was still on speaker. She was talking to her friend, probably one of the ones who used to gush over Emma's high school photos. "Emma's under so much pressure," my mom was saying. "You know how intense? Her schedule is, we're doing what we can to keep her supported." Then came the part that stayed with me. Our younger one. "She's always been independent. She'll figure it out." I froze. Not out of shakai. Think part of me already knew that's how they saw me, but out of grief. Silent, invisible grief. They had mistaken my silence for strength, my survival for stability, my independence for not needing them at all, but I did need them. Not their money, but their belief, their interest, their investment in who I was and who I was becoming. I didn't want flowers or praise. I just wanted to feel like I mattered as much. I didn't say anything that night. I just turned off the light, laid down, and stared at the ceiling. And then I got back up and wrote that paper. Every night after work, I studied until my eyes burned. My bed was a mattress on the floor of a shared apartment. The walls were thin. I could hear my roommate laughing on FaceTime with her family while I listened to the hum of my secondhand laptop fan and tried to concentrate. I didn't go to parties. I didn't take trips. There were no weekend getaways or spontaneous nights out. I watched people my age post pictures of tailgates and concerts and brunches, and I tried to tell myself I wasn't missing anything. But I was. I missed being carefree. I missed being just a student. I missed having someone to lean on. At school, professors praised my work ethic. Friends called me the responsible one. Some even said they admired me, but they didn't see the panic attacks behind closed doors. The nights I couldn't sleep because I wasn't sure how I'd pay rent next month. The constant worry that one mistake, one illness, one bad grade could collapse everything I had built. I was surviving, but just barely. Still, I kept going because I had to, because I wasn't Emma. I didn't have a safety net. I remember one night near finals. I was in the library at 2 a.m. It was almost empty. I had 2 energy drinks, a stack of notes, and an aching back. And I just broke. Not loudly, no sobs. Just silent tears running down my face as I stared at the screen, thinking, why does no one see how hard I'm trying? But no one was there to answer. I wiped my face, finished the paper, and emailed it in before the deadline. The next morning, Emma posted a photo on Instagram from a rooftop party. The caption said, "Self-care after a tough week." I stared at it for a long time. I didn't envy her, not really. I didn't want her life. I just wanted mine to feel like it mattered to someone other than me. The truth is, I didn't want special treatment. I didn't want to be spoiled or praised. I just wanted to be seen. For someone to look at me and say, "I know this is hard. I believe in you. I'm here," kept becoming the person I needed when no one else showed up. Because at the end of the day, that's what I learned. Sometimes you have to be your own support system, your own champion, your own family. And while that may sound strong, it's also the loneliest kind of strength. The day finally came. After 4 years of sleepless nights, skipped meals, double shifts, and quiet tears behind closed doors, I was finally here. Graduation day. I stood in front of the mirror in my small apartment, adjusting the navy blue gown that I'd paid for with money from my last paycheck. My reflection didn't look triumphant. I didn't feel glamorous. I looked tired but proud. Proud of every obstacle I had climbed, alone. As I pinned my tassel to the cap, a strange calm settled over me. This wasn't just a ceremony. It was proof that I had done it without them, without their help, without their belief, without their money. I thought about all the nights I had whispered to myself, "You can't stop now, just keep going." And I had. I kept going. The auditorium buzzed with energy students in gowns, parents carrying balloons, cameras flashing, families hugging and crying with joy. It was beautiful. For some, for others like me, it was quieter. They arrived late, just before my name was announced. I noticed them slipping in as I sat in the front row, Mom, in her usual pearl necklace, the one she always wore to Emma's school events, and Dad, checking his phone, barely taking in his surroundings, scanning the rows like they weren't sure where to go. They didn't bring flowers. No handmade signs or congratulatory cards. They clapped politely as I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, and then looked down at their programs, already distracted. I felt the pang of it's sharp but familiar. Came the unexpected dot. Just as the applause was dying down from the last name, the dean stepped back up to the podium. Her voice rang out clear and proud. "We have one final honor to present today. This year's Resilience Award goes to a student who exemplifies strength, dedication, and perseverance. Despite financial hardship, personal challenges, and a lack of traditional support, she not only completed her degrees, she did so with top grades, led community outreach programs, and mentored other struggling students." My breath caught in my chest. For her unwavering determination and inspiring spirit, we recognize Sarah Thompson. There was a pause just a beat, and then the applause began, but it wasn't polite this time. It was loud, echoing it. Swelled from the crowd like a wave of validation crashing over me. I stood up slowly, not quite believing what I was hearing. A professor I barely spoke to gave me a thumbs up. My legs felt like they were moving through water as I walked to the stage. As I accepted the plaque, my heart pounded not from nerves, but from something deeper. This was mine. This moment, this recognition, this light hit belonged to me. Not borrowed, not gifted, earned. I turned to face the audience, my eyes instinctively scanning the rows until they landed on them. My parents, their smiles had vanished. They didn't clap. They didn't beam with pride. They just stared. My mom's lips were slightly parted, her expression somewhere between confusion and disbelief. My dad's phone was still in his hand. Forgotten, they looked. Almost ashamed. And in that instant, I realized something for the first time. They saw me. Not the quiet child who blended into the background. Not the independent daughter they could forget to support it out. But the woman who had risen without them. The woman who had made it despite everything they didn't do. I walked back to my seat. Heart racing, hands still gripping the plaque, and didn't glance at them again. I didn't need to after the ceremony. Crowds flooded the courtyard. Students found their families. Laughter and celebration filled the air. Friends posed for pictures. Parents cried, hugged, bragged. It was chaos in the most beautiful way. My parents approached slowly, cautiously. "Sarah," my mom said, "we didn't know you were getting that award." I nodded. Neither did I. My dad cleared his throat. That was ... impressive. The kind that stretches too long when things are left unsaid. I could have said so much in that moment. I could have listed every time they overlooked me, every sacrifice they ignored, every opportunity they handed to Emma on a silver platter. But I didn't need to. They already knew. Their eyes told me. Their stiff posture, their downcast expressions. The way they couldn't quite meet my gaze for more than a few seconds, so I just smiled a calm, small but resolute smile and said, "Thanks for coming." Then I turned away. Friends were calling me over, asking for pictures, offering hugs and congratulations. One of my professors said she wanted to write me a recommendation letter for grad school. Another asked if I'd be interested in a mentorship program. Doors I had fought tooth and nail to open were finally swinging wide. My parents stood alone near the back of the courtyard, free from asking for scraps of attention, free from wondering if I'd ever be enough for them because I had proven something bigger that day to them, to myself, to everyone, that I was enough, that I always had been. They just hadn't seen it until now. Later, at the post-ceremony lunch, we all sat around a long table at my parents' favorite restaurant, white tablecloths. Soft piano music playing overhead, the kind of place they reserved for what they called family milestones. I guess this qualified, though I could tell they weren't exactly sure how to celebrate it. They had done this exact lunch for Emma's graduation 2 years earlier, complete with flowers, a custom cake and toasts today. No flowers, no cake, no toasts. Just a reservation and a meal they clearly thought would check the box. Emma arrived late, of course, breezing in with sunglasses on her head, her hair curled like she was heading to a party, not a lunch. She made a dramatic entrance, arms flung wide. Ugh, sorry I'm late. You would not believe the traffic near campus. She gave me a quick air kiss and plopped down in the seat next to Mom, already launching into a story before the waiter had even poured water. I'm so glad it's over, she said with an exaggerated sigh. Like, seriously, this last semester was a drag. All theory, no fun, just group projects and boring lectures. I swear, I don't even remember half of what I learned. Her iced tea and rolled her eyes like the past 4 years had been some long inconvenience. Mom laughed along, nodding like she understood. Dad added something about how college has changed so much these days, and the three of them fell into easy conversation. They were right back in their rhythm. One I had never quite been part of. I sat there, my food untouched. The congratulatory card they handed me still sealed in my purse. I had tried earlier in the meal to talk about my capstone project. How I'd led a community health outreach that had directly helped over 300 families. I was proud of it. It mattered to me. About her travel plans for the summer, my parents never circled back to ask me more. It stung more than I wanted to admit. I smiled, nodded, tried to stay polite. But inside, something cracked a little more with every bite of silence. That's when I realized nothing had really changed. Not the graduation, not the award, not the degree I had bled for. In their eyes, I was still the background character in the Emma show, and no amount of resilience awards could rewrite that script. I excused myself quietly, told them I needed to grab something from the car. No one asked if I was okay. No one even looked up. Out in the parking lot, I took a deep breath of warm summer air. The sun was shining, and everything should have felt light, but my chest was heavy. I walked over to Dad's card. They'd driven it that day instead of Mom's, and opened the passenger door, pretending to look for my wallet. I sat down in the seat, letting the door close behind me. It was silent, peaceful. I just needed a minute. That's when I noticed the glove box was slightly open. Not much, just a crack. Like someone had tried to shut it in a rush. I don't know why I reached for it. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was something deeper. A part of me that was already bracing for more truth. Inside was a stack of envelopes, insurance papers, receipts, some business cards, and one folded piece of paper, slightly creased and thick like it had been. Shoved in quickly, I opened it. It was a printed invoice from Emma's university dated just a few months ago. Listed at the top was the total tuition cost for the spring semester. Below it, attached neatly, was a copy of a personal check from my dad. Paid in full, the date on the check. Just 2 weeks after, they had sat me down in the kitchen and told me they couldn't afford to help me anymore. After they had said they were stretched thin. After they had looked me in the eye and told me, with rehearsed regret, that I should look into loans and scholarships. There it was, in black and white. Cold, clean, and undeniable. Not only had they lied, but they had chosen her again. Something inside me stilled, not anger, not sadness, just clarity. A wave of quiet, bitter understanding that washed over every moment of doubt I'd carried. Every time I wondered if I was being unfair, if I was imagining the difference in treatment, I wasn't. I folded the paper back up carefully and placed it exactly where I found it. My hands were steady. My breath was even. But my heart felt like it was sinking through the seat. They had watched me struggle. They had listened to me talk about juggling shifts, skipping meals, barely keeping up with my coursework, and they still cut the check. Still made the choice to fund Emma's comfort over my survival. I sat there for several minutes, not moving. My phone buzzed once with a text from my mom. Everything okay? I stared at it for the first time. I truly didn't care what they thought. I wasn't interested in making them understand anymore. I wasn't interested in their explanations, their excuses, or their guilt. I knew the truth now, and I knew my worth whether they ever recognized it or not. Eventually, I got out of the car, straightened my gown, and walked back toward the restaurant. I didn't storm in bed. I didn't confront them. I didn't cause a scene because I didn't need to. I already had everything I needed, the degree they never helped me earn, the respect of my professors and peers, the award that proved what I'd always known, and the truth. Finally, the truth, ChatGPT said back at the table. As laughter and light conversation bubbled around me, something shifted in my chest. It wasn't anger. Not exactly, it was something deeper. A quiet, solid knowing that this moment, this day deserved more than silence. Deserved more than letting things slide just to keep the peace. For so long I'd swallowed the pain, smiled. Through disappointment, let them tell themselves whatever helped them sleep at night, that I was strong, independent, not as needy. But today, standing here in my gown with my diploma in hand, I knew I didn't owe them comfort. I owed myself the truth. I reached for my glass of water, held it up, and gently tapped it with the side of my fork. The The clinking sound rang louder than expected, crisp and clean. Conversations stopped, heads turned. All eyes were on me. I smiled, calmly, even kindly. "Before we end this day," I began, my voice steady, "I just want to say thank you." My mom smiled immediately, that polished, performative one she wore at family gatherings. Dad looked up from his phone. Emma leaned back in her seat, clearly expecting a short, polite toast, but I continued. "Thank you to the people who didn't believe in me. Who said I should figure it out on my own? Who called me independent as a way to justify leaving me behind?" Silence. I took a breath. My hands weren't shaking. My voice didn't waver. Not this time. I did figure it out. I got the jobs. I paid the bills. I made it through classes I thought would break me. And today, I'm not just a graduate-time someone who learned how strong she really is. I saw it immediately, the way the color drained from my mother's face, the way my father blinked, unsure of where to look, the faint sound of a fork hitting a plate as someone across the table forgot they were still holding it. "Sarah," my mother whispered, her voice low and warning. But I wasn't done. I had kept quiet for years. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't drama. It was release. "You always said you supported us equally, that there was no favoritism, that we were both loved the same. But today, I saw your faces when I got that award. And I know you didn't expect it. You didn't believe I'd make it. You never thought I could shine without your help." Emma's eyes narrowed. She looked away, feigning disinterest. But the silence said it all. "And now," I said softly, "so does everyone else here." The pause that followed was thick, heavier than any words I could have added. No one clapped. No one moved. Not even Emma. My parents didn't defend themselves. They didn't rush to explain. They didn't deny it. They just sat there, pale, stiff, staring at their plates like maybe if they stayed still enough, they could disappear. It wasn't about humiliating them. It was about no longer protecting a version of the story that erased me. I sat down slowly, my heart pounding, not from fear, but from relief. For the first time, I had said what needed to be said, and I wasn't sorry for it. The lunch ended. Awkwardly. A few people made small talk, tried to bring the energy back, but it was clear the tone had shifted. People looked at me differently, now not with pity, but with respect. Like they'd seen a new version of me emerge right there at the table. When it was over, I gathered my things and left without waiting for hugs or lingering conversation. I didn't owe anyone a soft exit. Not anymore. That night, as I sat alone in my room, my degree propped against the wall, my gown draped over a chair, my phone buzzed. First one message, then another, then more. From relatives I barely spoke. Two, from old family friends who had been at the lunch. From cousins who had followed Emma's journey more than mine. I had no idea. "Sarah, you were amazing today. That speech, wow. You've always been strong, but today you were something else." And the one that hit the hardest, "You made me think about how we treat people in our own family. Thank you for opening my eyes." I stared at the screen, letting those words wash over me like balm over years of invisible wounds. They didn't undo everything, but they mattered, because they told me what my parents never did. "We see you, we hear you, we believe you." And for once, finally I was proud of me too. Not just for graduating, not just for surviving, but for standing up, for telling the truth, for refusing to let the version of me they created become the version I accepted. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if my parents would ever see me differently. I didn't know if Emma would ever admit how uneven things had been, but none of that mattered, because I had found my voice, and once you speak your truth, you never go back to silence. If this story moved you or made you think, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one, and if you want more powerful stories like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching.